Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, Nick. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I was thinking about a book this morning, and I actually pulled it off my shelf to bring it in and show it to you. Do you want to smell it?
Yeah, please.
I know how you like smelling things. It's weird. He likes smelling books and other assorted goodies.
Smells like a bestseller.
It does. This book I bought for $6.98. I don't know if you can see it. It is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book was written, I believe, in 1937, listed as the #1 selling book of the century on personal wealth and lasting success. You've read it?
I have. Well, I listened to the audiobook, so
Okay.
Yes and no.
So this book was one of the ones that was recommended to me by a multi-millionaire. I think we featured him in a couple episodes previously. And he told me to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He told me to read The Cash Flow Quadrant, and he told me to read Think and Grow Rich. And it took me 6 times reading this book until it finally sunk in what the book was saying. But the book in its simplest form was saying that you have to have definiteness of purpose in order to do anything. So what comes up for you when I say definiteness of purpose?
The one word comes up when I hear definite of purpose, which is really clarity. So knowing what it is that I want, and then also the clarity around knowing why it is that I want it. So the definite of purpose, it's like, okay, well, what purpose am I fulfilling on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it would start with the awareness and then also the clarity of it.
So what you want and why you want it is what I hear.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What about for you?
Definiteness of purpose for me, I like the word clarity. For me, that definiteness is an interesting word because you don't hear like, oh, I'm definiteness in my whatever. But definiteness of purpose is, it does go back to why. Like, why are you going through the motions of doing something? It is to achieve this final outcome, in my opinion. So in the book, he talks about definiteness of purpose around what it is you want, whether it's related to money or relationship or desire of the things that you desire. Let's see what else we have in here. He talks about the subconscious mind, what the connecting link of what it is you want, how to crystallize desire into action. But there was one quote in here, Nick, that like so stuck out for me that I printed it out and I have it on the wall right over here that I look at every single day. And it is having definiteness of purpose for acquiring wealth is essential for its acquisition. So having definiteness of purpose for acquiring wealth is essential for its acquisition. What comes up for you?
Well, a couple of things, right? And this is something that you've said, where it's where your attention goes, energy flows, and then results show.
Exactly.
Yeah, so having definite of purpose, and a definite purpose of acquiring wealth, right? So when I hear it, it's not only, it's not just wealth itself, but it's like the acquisition of wealth.
Right.
Yeah, which is a word that I kind of went over my head until I really needed to think about it. So it's the acquiring wealth, because when I might be living my life and I'm looking to build, or I'm living my life, making a difference, working with clients to be wealthy.
Right.
But sometimes I could focus on the end goal, or like the point B or the destination, versus the act of the journey of getting to it. So like the acquiring wealth. And I think directly for me, the place that it comes most strongly, I guess, would be in the activities that I do, and whether they're revenue generating or not. Because I think if I'm focused on the revenue generating activities, then I'm focused on the acquisition of wealth.
Interesting.
And oftentimes I could just be focused on, oh, this is the type of life that I want to live in the future as a result of.
Cool.
Yeah.
One of the, so what that brings up for me, there was a conversation I was having with someone who was talking about wanting just to make a lot of money. And they ended up making a lot of money, but they also spent a lot of money. So they achieved what they had set out to do, but they weren't focused on the definiteness of purpose of acquiring wealth for the long term. So I look at this two ways.
Okay.
I like the idea of making money. There's goals set around how much we're going to make this year. That's personally business oriented, all of that, right? However, there's also this definiteness of purpose of how much I need to have or acquire over a certain period of time
Yep.
in order to live the way I want to live in retirement, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
And so that definiteness of purpose for me is making sure that the net worth number is growing month over month over month.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's probably a lot of people out there who may pay some attention to net worth, but they check it once a year, or they just go, oh, well, my 401k or 403b is growing, so I assume my net worth is growing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably on the ridiculous end of checking my net worth on a weekly or bi-weekly basis.
Yeah.
I have a notebook in the shelf over here that I literally go through at the end of every month and update all of the net worth numbers. I'm constantly tracking it, knowing that I'm going towards this end destination, if you will.
Yep.
And for me, that is that definiteness of purpose. The purpose being that when the time, if and when the time comes that I'm done, quote unquote, working, which I don't know that I ever will, because I love to create and just share and coach and speak and all of that. But if there comes a time where I don't want to do that anymore, I want to know that there's enough money set aside that I never have to do it again.
Yeah.
If I don't want to.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
As you're saying that, I remember when my grandpa was alive on my dad's side, he actually had a handwritten journal where with all the stocks that he owned, and he would have the lows, the highs, I think the lows, the highs, and then also the dividends.
Oh, wow.
That would be, and he would handwrite them, and then erase them, and then handwrite them when they changed. And I was always, in my mind, I was always like, first of all, Grandpa, you're wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, right.
But I think there was a process to that, but it also probably provided for him, that definite of acquiring wealth, etc. And, as I've shared in the podcast before, he, left a multi-million-dollar portfolio.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that,
It's awesome.
that is a common theme.
So let me pose just a suggestion or a challenge, if you will, to the audience, to the listeners, to the explorers out there. And that is this: if you have definiteness of purpose of acquiring wealth, and you were to set up an automatic investment plan into something like a dividend producing stock, that the idea is that that sometime in the future you're going to have a significant amount of money in that stock portfolio that churns out some monthly amount over time or annual amount in dividends. What would you be willing to do in order to make that happen? So if it was, let's say, a $200 a month investment into something that was generating dividends, whether that be Hershey stock or Coca-Cola or Berkshire Hathaway shares or something like, although they don't pay dividends, but find a dividend paying stock and you're investing in that. And all you did was said, hey, no matter what, $200 a month always goes into that because I know at some point I'm going to create the wealth that I want to acquire over time. That is my definiteness of purpose.
Yeah.
What if that happened? Can you imagine?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandpa's philosophy around investing, he only invested in dividend paying stocks. And for him, the definite purpose was knowing that regardless if the market went up, went down, or stayed the same, he was getting paid. Yeah. So when people ask me, especially as a financial coach, being in the investment world before, it's like, hey, what returns can I get, etc. I always needed to answer differently than what I would always say, this is my personal philosophy,
right?
But based on what you're looking for, most of the time it was different because people really want that. People are kind of chasing something, but if you know exactly what you want at retirement or when you stop working, it's a different game.
Totally.
Yeah.
We also talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki talked about either you were a cash flow investor or you were a net worth investor, and net worth investors would be a Warren Buffett. He's investing for the stocks to go up. So over time, he wants to increase his net worth. That's why he's buying companies, right? However, if you are investing in dividend-paying stocks, you are more of a cash flow investor. So your grandfather knew that at some point, or maybe he knew it, maybe he didn't, but that the Coca-Cola, was it Coca-Cola stock?
Nike.
Nike stock,
Yeah.
I keep getting that wrong. Nike stock was going to pay out $60,000 a year in dividends.
Yeah.
So think about that for yourself. If you were interested in creating a perpetual stream of revenue into retirement, what is the definiteness of purpose you have right now that's getting you there? So if you said, hey, 20 years from now or 50 years from now, I'd like to be making $60,000 or $100,000 a year passively from the investments, what are you going to do today in order to get yourself there?
Yeah.
To me, that is definiteness of purpose.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great. One quick story that I have to highlight that. I had a client of mine. She was cybersecurity, earning six figures, and we found out when we actually started to look at her monthly income and expenses, we found that she was an Instagram model, and very lucky to have worked with her. And she also told me that she would earn $4,000 a month in cash tips on the side working as a bartender. And it wasn't until we actually started to track her income and expenses when she realized that she was also receiving $4,000 cash.
Wow.
Because if you're anything like me, when I have cash, I typically spend it. There's no like definite purpose for the money. For me, real cash is like change. It's
Sure.
like, okay, I can kind of get rid of it. It's not real money, even though it's the most real, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so really bringing awareness to her, she was like, wow, I've got $4,000 a month that I can put towards building my future and really investing in the dividend type of stocks. So that way, when she is 20, 30, 50 years older,
right?
She's got a passive income stream. But yeah, it's first you need to have the awareness,
right,
to be able to create that definite purpose.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and with this client of yours, imagine if she had said, I've got this $4,000 in cash. I don't know where any of it goes. Mm-hmm. So every single month, 50% of it just automatically went away to someplace like stockpile.com or a personal capital that would invest it for you, right? Betterment or wherever. Mm-hmm. But if she put that $2,000 a month away, what $24,000 a year would grow to?
Yeah.
Even what it would buy in terms of the dividends that come back in, and if she's in a dividend reinvestment type plan where the dividends that are paid are put back into the stock, it could blow up in 10 years.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So amazing. Here's a recommendation for you. And number one, I would go pick up Think and Grow Rich. Now this book is sort of the super luxe version. You might call it the bougie book.
The bougie book.
I got this at Barnes & Noble for I think $6.98. It was on one of those sale racks.
Again,
but a nice
bouge.
leather cover, and it smells like success. A little bit like Nick, actually. It smells just like Nick. Yeah. And so I encourage you to go check that out. Not like that.
Like success.
Yeah, I was going to check it. I encourage you to go pick up the book and read it. It's going to take you a few tries. Literally the first time you'll read it, you'll kind of get it. But each and every time it sort of seeps into your cellular level and into your unconscious. So make sure you check that out. Challenges for you?
Challenges, yes. So really discovering and setting that definiteness of purpose for you, particularly around money. How much do you need and by when? How much do you need and by when?
I love it. Yeah. All right, until tomorrow, where we are talking about luck.
Yeah.
How to be
That's a
lucky.
good one. Adam's going to share something really exciting too.
I have to be careful about being lucky and getting lucky. So. Until tomorrow, that's the tease.